All right, cello violas. We're gonna start with measure 17 up to measure 41. So I'm going to play through. I will count out loud some of the measures, and then I'm gonna go back and talk through some of these things and things that you can do to practice on your own. So starting at 17. 1, 2. And 2, and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 1 and 2. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and slur. 1 and 2, and so when you have these quarter notes, you need to make sure you are using long bows so that you don't rush. Watch me, follow me in class to make sure you're staying with the beat, but also keep counting your eighth notes, because most of the time in this piece, somebody is playing eighth notes. If you can count eighth notes all the way, every quarter note would be 1 and 2 and. It just helps you make sure you're holding the notes long enough. For your eighth notes, make sure you're using less bow so that you can push forward and not slow down. The biggest trouble spot is probably getting into measure 28 and counting that dotted quarter note. 1 and 2 and then getting back into eighth notes without a pause. In measure 31, you have that first two notes, the E to D, that's slurred on an up bow, up, and then separate, down, up. When we get back into measure 33, this is again where you have the quarter notes. You want to make sure you're using long bows and you're thinking your eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 1. 1 and 2 and. Just always thinking the eighth notes will help you. Another good way that you can practice thinking about your eighth notes on any of these metronomes, once you have them set, look at the rhythm. I've always told you, make sure the rhythm is set for a quarter note. We're gonna change this rhythm to an eighth note. So on these little black metronomes, you use that little squiggle button. If you press it once, it'll switch to eighth notes. On the black and white tuners, there's a little button with the note value. Just hit that until you get to an eighth note. And then on the white tuners, there's a button that has like a note value. So just change that to eighth notes. My suggestion is maybe to start doing this at 60 or 70, so it's slower. Make sure your beats are set to 2. This is gonna click every eighth note at you. That way when you're playing eighth notes, especially at 25, I would suggest practicing them with the eighth note setting on the metronome so you can hear every single eighth note as you should be playing it. Which means when you get to a quarter note, you should hear 2 clicks on the metronome. And when you get to the dotted quarter note, you should hear 3 clicks on the metronome. So I'm gonna set the metronome on, and I'm gonna play again from 17 up to 41. 1, 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and. 60 is a good starting place. My suggestion is to build up to 70 with the eighth notes and then try to push to 80 or 90 because we do want to try to make sure we can speed this up a little bit more for our performance.